This is a kind of a tricky question. So yeah, I'll share some insights, and I also think that it's important to kind of frame this in a way that it's not really about staying Zen all the time, per se. Um, we don't want to be fake. We don't want to suppress emotions. Um, we don't want to pretend. We don't want to try to force things. Um, this is about kind of being with whatever's here. And so if we're driving and let's say some fire trucks, drive by and then we see a fire, building on fire, like, of course we're going to be affected by that. That's kind of maybe an extreme example, but, someone cuts us off. Um, there's wonderful emotional regulation skills that we can practice that I'll, detail briefly, but I just want to kind of frame this in a way that it's not necessarily about being Zen all the time. It's about kind of being with whatever's here without judging it. And so, judgments arise for all of us. And driving can be challenging for some of us too. Especially, for those living in really urban, densely populated areas, like Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, Shanghai, Hong Kong. These are dense um, areas, and traffic can get the best of us sometimes. And so, from a 30,000 foot level, it's about noticing, judgments as they arise, or noticing judgments if they're already here, of, these harsh, condemning, judgmental thoughts that we have. Noticing them and seeing if we can maybe sense into them in the body. Just acknowledge the judgment. Try not to beat ourselves up over it. Breathe. And then we can reflect, how can we be curious about this instead? How can we maybe empathize and then share some goodwill? I think driving the speed limit, obeying the laws, noticing what's around you. We don't want to be, like navel gazing as we're driving the freeway. We don't want to be, paying attention to the bottoms of our feet the whole time as we're driving a windy road.
Right.
We need to be, aware of all of our senses and be proactive. And but there's a set of like audio, and I think there might be a book on this too, called instead of Road Rage, it's called Road Sage, uh, by Sylvia Bornstein.
Uh-huh.
And and she's a mindfulness teacher. It's her thoughts on how we can bring mindfulness to driving. and she's, she's quite funny, and she's a storyteller. It's a little bit more like kind of an easy read, or easy listening, but she has some thoughts on that. Um, I think as we drive, just kind of sensing into our body, 20% a little bit, while most of our awareness is on the road. Like, can we just tune into our body a little bit? Can we notice that we're breathing? Can we sense into the body just a little bit without being too distracted? But can we maintain some level of contact with the body so that we can notice the arising of anger or frustration or hurriedness or urgency? Or just, is my belly contracted? Is there shallowness of breath? Is there a crunching of the shoulders? Am I gripping onto the steering wheel really tightly?
Sure.
Are my eyes like really kind of contracted?